From St. John Arena in Columbus, Ohio, it is Super Tuesday. First from the Big Ten, the #1 team in the nation, the Hoosiers of Indiana, trying to remain undefeated in the Big Ten as they face the Ohio State Buckeyes. Welcome to Super Tuesday. I'm John Saunders. If they remain undefeated, they'll do it without Alan Henderson. He's out at least 2 weeks, possibly more, with a knee injury. They'll go to a 3-guard offense. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the standings as Indiana tries to become just the 5th team since World War II to go undefeated in the Big Ten. A perfect 13-0 right now, 24-2 overall. Look at the bottom half. You may put the line of teams going to the NCAA tournament right above Ohio State, but the Buckeyes still have a chance to fight their way in. Game number 2 of the doubleheader from the SEC. Alabama on the road at LSU. They need the win. They're just 5-7 are the Crimson Tide in the SEC. LSU right now 7-5. Up next is the Big Ten, though. The former Hoosier, Lawrence Funderbucke, goes up against his former coach. He'll lead the Buckeyes.
The making of a #1. What does it take? An architect like Indiana head coach Bob Knight. The formula to meet early season challenges, Indiana beat 2 ranked opponents on their way to winning the preseason NIT. Indiana learned from tough losses. Early season setbacks to Kansas and Kentucky didn't faze the Hoosiers. It made them better. They had to gel against the league's toughest opponents, winning 2 close ones against Michigan and going unbeaten in the Big Ten. Survive the scares, ride a lucky wave while winning the games they're supposed to, no matter whose heart you break. With a win on Sunday against the Boilermakers, they're hitting on all cylinders. But more obstacles remain. Injured forward Alan Henderson is out indefinitely as the #1 Hoosiers come a-calling to St. John Arena. 13,000 plus will be on hand as the Buckeyes of Ohio State are set to take on the #1 Hoosiers of Indiana. We're live. Hello, everyone. I am Tim Brando. As we get Super Tuesday underway, remember this. For the first time this season, we've got a #1 team for a 4th consecutive week. Dick Vitale is by my side. This is not, though, an invincible #1.
Well, Timmy, they're playing without Alan Henderson when you talk about the Hoosiers. And what they lose by not having Henderson is a shot blocker or a shot changer. A guy in the 3-second area keeps the ball out of the lane. And they'll really miss Henderson on the glass as well. But they still have Calbert Cheaney. Cheaney has had a phenomenal year. He does a fantastic job of reading defenses. He moves exceptionally well without the ball. And what a big-time scorer. In fact, he's on target to become the biggest scorer in the Big Ten. And he's my choice right now. Yes, Player of the Year, Calbert Cheaney.
All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about the youthful exuberance of this Ohio State team. A backcourt duo that must get it done tonight.
Well, they got a diaper dandy backcourt. We talk about Craig Simpson. He's a long-range scorer. He had 8 threes in a row against Iowa and Penn State. Also, Derek Anderson gives him Mr. Versatility. He's interchangeable in that he can play the small forward as well as the guard slot. But remember this when you talk to Buckeyes. If they're going to make that dramatic run to get into the big dance, it will really fall on the shoulders of the big fella, the former Hoosier, Mr. Lawrence Funderbucke, who's really been hot in his last 3 games with 71 big markers.
Since he's transferred from Indiana, he's not yet beaten the Hoosiers. He gets a chance to beat them at a most inopportune time tonight.
ESPN's NCAA basketball is brought to you by the new Dodge, a division of the Chrysler Corporation. By the people of Nike, who encourage you to just do it. And by Sea-Doo Watercraft. For fun on the water, everyone's doing it. Sea-Doo.
Venerable St. John Arena, the site of the nation's #1 team tonight, the Indiana Hoosiers, taking on the homestanding Buckeyes of Ohio State. Here are the starting lineups for Indiana. So much of what they do, Dick, is initiated by Greg Graham.
Well, Greg Graham, an outstanding slasher and driver. You ready for this? 28 trips to the free throw line against Purdue, and he converted 26.
This year we have seen a kinder, gentler general, Bob Knight, 10 Big Ten championships, the 3 NCAA titles that you know about.
I think to be on target, to go undefeated in the Big Ten is an unbelievable achievement when you think about the parity that exists in college basketball.
The Buckeyes of Ohio State, we touched on it before, the scowl of Lawrence Funderbucke. He'll have to play with that same intensity tonight against his old team.
Well, he's 0-3 in his 3 games against Indiana. Ayers, he's done an amazing job here. Averaged close to 25 wins his first 3 years. This year reloading after losing 4 dominant players, including Jimmy Jackson, a player of the year.
Series history between these two, a long-standing one in the Big Ten, Indiana leading. Buckeyes, though, lead this series in Columbus, though the Hoosiers won both times last year and the last 3 meetings overall. Opening tip is controlled to the Buckeyes.
Man-to-man defense. Ohio State trying to play a motion game.
Simpson and Anderson will have to shoot well throughout the course of this game. Don't forget about the play of Skelton. He can always be a trump card for this team.
He's an explosive scorer.
Anderson, not there. Cleared by Damon Bailey.
They're really high on Anderson. They love his versatility.
Reynolds getting the start.
Reynolds will start, but Evans will be in the game to give him some size.
There's the move by Nover. Matt Nover over Funderbucke.
He has really been playing well for them. He does so many good little things. Not a bad 4th option on your club.
Funderbucke, not there. Most observers will tell you that Ohio State needs to play well early in each half. And right now, the Hoosiers, with a free lane to the basket, have a 4-0 lead.
Well, nobody stopped the basketball. The first rule you learn in defensive transition, stop the progress of the basketball. Ram goes coast to coast. Funderbucke playing outside a little bit, then sliding inside.
Skelton will take Reynolds.
He's capable of knocking down that perimeter shot. They're going to a half-court trap.
And they force the turnover from Greg Graham.
They have to make the big plays early to get some confidence so Ayers can have the crowd involved in the game. I thought the crowd was very passive before the game. We're going to see multiple defenses tonight by Ohio State. We're going to see a 2-3 matchup, half-court trap, and man-to-man.
Funderbucke, nice maneuver past Nover, drawing the foul. This is an area where without Alan Henderson to give that help, Funderbucke could have a big night along the blocks.
Henderson would be rotating over in his great shot blocking ability. But look at him sitting in the post. He's sitting in deep. He wants the baseline. See, Nover right now gives him the baseline. Great spin to the lane. Defense slow, rotating over. Gets fouled on a play. Lawrence has been up and down, Tim. He's had an up and down year, and I really believe that's because of the cast around him. Such a young cast really affects a player of his stature.
Not quite 2 minutes gone, and more pressure from Ohio State.
3-quarter trap with Anderson at the point.
Another turnover.
Out of sync, Indiana, not posting anybody up.
Anderson with the dump down to Funderbucke, knocked away by Reynolds. It'll be triggered in for the Buckeyes.
Anderson had that wide open jumper but tried to make the extra pass.
Well, they've gotten the crowd into it. Not much question about that.
With young teams, Tim, they're very vulnerable to a spurt. That's been a problem with Ohio State. They've played a lot of teams tough, but then as young teams are, they make a lot of mistakes in a 4-minute spurt and go down maybe 17-2 in a spurt and breaks the game open.
Push off the ball. Spotted by Ed Hightower.
Oh, right down inside. Watch number 41. See, there's the screen along the baseline. Big screen by Watson.
Antonio Watson picked up the foul with that elbow. Hoosiers have turned it over their last 2 trips. There's Nover. Knocked away by Skelton. Numbers again for the Buckeyes. That's a 3 for Jamie Skelton. We mentioned trump card. He's dealing his hand so far.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Skelton's a very explosive, streaky shooter, and he seems on fire. Takes a trap. He's got a trailer. Give it up. Takes it to the goal. Place is beginning to rock.
A 9-0 run for the Buckeyes after trailing 4-0.
The crowd is really alive here.
Cheaney. Funderbucke clears.
Calbert Cheaney, an excellent baseline shooter. He's got to make that open jump shot.
Simpson.
Really getting good ball movement, good shot selection. They're really matching up on Cheaney, not allowing Cheaney to get the ball against the trap.
Hoosiers will be looking forward to that first television timeout. Graham answers with a tray.
He's really played well. He's really had himself a dynamic start in the middle of the season, because there was a time where he went to the bench after the Kentucky game, Graham. He benched Bailey and Graham. Did the general?
Ayers really believes Graham right now is the glue to the Indiana team, that he initiates so much of what they try to accomplish offensively.
Not a good shot right there. That's a freshman mistake. Taking a bad shot.
Bailey finds Graham. And the tip by Cheaney brings the Hoosiers to within 2.
Calbert Cheaney on target to become the all-time leading scorer in the history of the Big Ten. He can break Len Rice's record of Michigan. He's 37 today. Funderbucke showing some versatility, playing up on top.
Travel. He turned it over. But a very entertaining first 4.5 minutes. Ayers by a deuce.
Early in the game, Tim, Ohio State's been very aggressive defensively. They rotated initially into a half-court trap and then matched up here into a man-to-man. And they played aggressively on the man-to-man end. We're going to see the deflection right here from the rear. There's the deflection. He puts the ball on the floor. And then we see the transition. We see the defensive end running it up to the offensive end. Freeze it. See how he spots the three-point line? Very smart play by Jamie Skelton. Nobody rotates out, fans out to play him, and he knocks down the 3.
Indiana with 4 unanswered to start, then a 9-0 run for Ohio State. Calbert Cheaney can't find it. Cleared by Anderson.
Anderson's really a player they're going to like here. The freshman from out of Louisville, Kentucky, said no to Louisville. He's very versatile. He can play 3 positions: point guard, second guard, and the number 3 slot.
So difficult to replace so much of the talent that they had last year, but in a sense, Anderson has replaced Baker, Gent, and at times Jimmy Jackson.
Nice pass there. Now, you don't believe that, Timmy B.
No, I'm just talking about in terms of what he can bring. He delivers those 3 aspects, which are all parts individually of what those super players meant to this team.
Mini. They lost so much last year. Think about what they lost. They lost Mark Baker, Jamal Brown. You lose Jimmy Jackson. You lose the hustle and spirit of Chris Gent. In fact, 2 other clubs I thought lost as much and have done really well, though. Arkansas, and you think about Oklahoma State, Eddie Sutton's club lost a lot.
The difference, though, for Ayers is that his system is not like Nolan Richardson. You have to really live and learn as freshmen, whereas with Nolan Richardson, while you're living and learning, you're pressing all the time.
They press all the time. Also, the toughness of the Big Ten. The Big Ten from top to bottom is so tough. Indiana plays their trademark man-to-man defense. A lot of help inside.
Funderbucke fading away.
Funderbucke with that good look at the basket. See the presence of a guy like Henderson who maybe would rotate on him. But they're sloppy against the trap. They are really sloppy, Indiana, against the trap.
3 times they haven't gotten it past midcourt.
That's so uncharacteristic. They usually have so much discipline.
Skelton, too strong. Reynolds runs it down off the floor for Indiana.
Reynolds not a threat to score. He's a guy that's going to distribute the basketball.
Graham. Tough double pump. Reynolds is there.
And who said Reynolds is not going to score? The book says he can't score, that he's a penetrator, and he's an outstanding defensive player. He made my all Velcro team. He's a defensive stopper.
Buckeyes by 1.
See, I would try to post Funderbucke inside. I think Funderbucke could really hurt them down in the box inside.
Anderson drives past Bailey. And a foul underneath. Reynolds picking it up.
General Robert Montgomery Knight, along with his assistant. There is Funderbucke now trying to establish position, but he's going to lay a screen right here. See, helps his teammate out. He lays that screen on Nover, and they make the turn around the corner, and Anderson gets fouled.
Funderbucke takes a seat along with Greg Simpson.
I was teasing him today in the locker room about the fact that, you know, he came in with that great Indiana class of Calbert, Cheaney. I said, can you imagine if they had you in the lane with all those people? He just smiled.
Alex Davis has come into the game, as you see Derek Anderson in his last game against Wisconsin. Those are the aspects we mentioned, those 3 areas, the assist as well as the steal. And that's another area where Ohio State has lost something. Until tonight, they did not turn the ball over a great deal defensively.
There's that trap with Anderson at the point with his great size at 6'4" and those long arms. Then they rotate into man-to-man defensively. See, what they're trying to do is take Indiana out of the rhythm of running their half-court motion game. They usually live off the screen. Watch the action away from the ball.
Bailey rides his man in and draws the foul. And Damon Bailey so very comfortable at that 3 spot with this small lineup that Bob Knight is utilizing. He's a much stronger fellow than he was a year or so back.
Well, you know, with the 3-guard concept that they have right now, they can effectively get away with it because Ohio State matches up with 3 guards as well. So they don't have that real size problem like they'll probably have at Minnesota.
Anderson trying for the deflection against Cheaney. Well, that's a tough call for him defensively to have to check Calbert Cheaney. He'll need some help before the evening is over. There you see those turnovers, and that's something Ohio State has been unable to do until tonight's game in the Big Ten. Force their opposition into turnovers. And a walk by Cheaney.
Cheaney only played 23 minutes against Purdue, got in foul trouble, but they had the big game out of Greg Graham. That's what made that win even more impressive, with him in foul trouble and playing without Alan Henderson and beating a good Purdue team with a superstar, the best newcomer in the game, in Glenn Robinson.
Davis gets it inside to Dudley.
Dudley's a big, powerful, strong, physical kind of player.
Ryan Evans clears.
Evans has really become a quality player. Had a big game against Purdue with 20 big ones. Evans can shoot the ball.
Bailey works the curl into the lane.
He loves that little curl move with that dribble penetration. He had a big game here as a freshman, put like 34 on the board, and they lost a heartbreaker at the end on a great play by Jackson.
Skelton over Evans. Cleared by Nover.
Bailey really utilizes dribble penetration well. Cheaney really getting beaten up down there.
Anderson picks up the foul. He's asking for the chicken wing, but he's a freshman. He won't get that against the All-American.
Well, you know, Anderson, he's a diaper dandy, and here he is saying, I don't care about you, Cheaney. You may be a superstar, but I'm going to deny you the ball because you're not going to get 37 tonight, baby. You're not going to break the all-time record here. I'm not going to let you get it. Yeah, that chicken wing was right in there.
Reynolds finds Bailey. Oh, he wanted to give that one a nice adjustment to get the shot off. Reynolds follows.
Chris Reynolds delivering off the offensive boards from out of Peoria. Almost went to Duke. He plays the basketball as well as anyone. The only guy that I think might play the ball tougher on the basketball is Derek Phelps down in North Carolina.
He only has 4 points, both of them off the offensive glass. Indiana retakes the lead for the first time since it was 4-0 at the outset.
Look how soft Cheaney's playing on a wing.
Skelton 3 over Bailey. Dudley works his way free. Nover controls it for Indiana.
He's got to find Cheaney right now. You got to find Cheaney.
Bailey.
He brings it out to Bailey, but he had Cheaney spotting up for a 3 on the right side. I'd want to go to Cheaney for the big 3. I mean, he was spotting on the line on the right wing.
3-point lead for Indiana.
See, here's you have to be careful of that spurt we're talking about, where Ohio State, because of their youth, has a tendency to maybe play 3-4 bad minutes, and boom, club gets a big lead on them.
They don't have as many threats, Dick, in the baseline area. With Funderbucke out, we have seen a noticeable difference in their offense down low.
Well, they don't have any options down here that can score.
11:03 remaining opening half. Indiana by 3. Hollywood Robinson against the Fighting Tigers of LSU, both seeking a spot in the NCAA dance and trailing Arkansas in the SEC's Western Division. That's coming up immediately following our game. Ryan Evans, the freshman, coming off a career-high 20 against Purdue, not starting this game, though Henderson's not available. Bob Knight did not want the freshman to believe he had to really replace a player as good as Alan Henderson.
Yeah, he decided to go with experience by playing Reynolds to start the game and keep his rotation of his front court the same by bringing Evans off the bench.
Evans throws up an air ball right on cue, and it's out of bounds to Indiana. No, to Ohio State.
Look at the numbers by Henderson. It's a presence inside, blocking shots, shot changing. Alan Henderson's knee injury is a lot more serious than people really have anticipated. He has an anterior cruciate ligament problem, and it's really severe. They're hoping his swelling goes down and he can tolerate some pain and be able to be ready for the postseason, and then he'll have to go for postseason surgery, according to the medical authorities I spoke to.
He did not make the trip for obvious reasons. Is not on Bob Knight's bench.
What a great kid, too. Just great attitude, great work ethic.
Overshadowed somewhat as a freshman by the Fab Five when you think about it a year ago. Funderbucke, nice dump down. Ratliff into the game. He saves it. Simpson can't find it.
I was teasing him before the game. He didn't miss a jump shot from the perimeter. I mean, he was on fire, Simpson. I said, save some of those for the game, baby.
Charles Macon is coming to the game for the first time for Ohio State, number 33 in scarlet and gray.
He's Mr. Basketball in the state of Indiana.
Nice feed. LEary to Nover.
That's what they do so well. They really define what a high percentage shot is, and their offensive efficiency rating is very high game into game because they really make use of each possession.
Buckeyes have only hit 1 for 7 from three-point range, and Skelton hit that lone three-pointer.
Macon's been playing better and better in their last few games.
Funderbucke can't hit. LEary with numbers. That's going to be a block.
The one thing they're doing a poor job right now, Ohio State, Tim, is they are not stopping the progress of the basketball. The first rule you learn in defensive transition, stop the ball. See, Simpson's got to attack the ball. A little change of direction, and LEary goes right by him. And look how slow they are rotating over. That's a good call. That was a block. That's a no-no, baby. You got to show them that video, and you got to say, hey, guys, we got to stop the basketball.
Count the basket, and LEary will get to the line. You see Indiana scorching the nets here at the outset, and a reversal for Ohio State at 36%.
And they're not even really shooting well. What they're doing is they're making all the easy shots. Think about it. When you think of their scores, you got Reynolds with 2 offensive rebounds. You got the 2 drives by Graham.
He converts the three-point play, and now it's a 13-3 Indiana spurt.
There's the spurt we were talking about early. Vulnerable to spurts, young team. They're swinging the ball. Good ball reversal right there. Indiana's done an excellent job scouting. Notice how they play each player differently. Certain players, they come right up in their face because they know they can shoot the ball like Simpson. And then other players who don't have range as shooters like Anderson, they play soft.
LEary picks up the foul.
There's so much in preparing for a game, Tim. Analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of each player. And that's where this guy is a master. And here's where I'll get everybody angry. If I voted today, Coach of the Year, right there, the general. For what he's done with only 9 players in the toughness of the Big Ten, amazing to be undefeated.
Last touch by Macon. Indiana will get it back. And they don't keep this statistic, Dick, but if Indiana were to get a #1 seed, and if Indiana were to make it to the Final Four, when was the last time in the modern era you remember 9 available players at a Final Four?
That's incredible. I don't know that stat. You know that one. I don't.
No, I don't know it. We asked the NCAA. They don't keep it, but I think you'd have to go back beyond the modern era to find that. Evans, boy, did he work for that basket.
He really has come on. He's been an excellent practice player, and then he found himself, had a big game against Michigan in game 1. Had a big game in the first game against Illinois. Non-existent in the second matchup, though, with Illinois.
Buckeyes have missed their last 7 field goal tries.
Notice how they double up when Funderbucke touches the ball inside. Again, aware of his strength in the post.
6.5-minute drought for Ohio State. Momentary loss of concentration, and Indiana will get it back. Randy Ayers, when you think about it, Dick, were it not for the press early in the game, has been able to generate absolutely no offense, and at that time, it was his defense that created that offense.
Yeah, his defense was doing an excellent job creating some turnovers, and they were converting off the turnover. This is the guy why Indiana has really stepped it up, though. Graham's game has really turned up a notch after that Kentucky game.
Tom Brandwie is coming to the game for the first time for Ohio State, number 31.
Not a good shot right there by Bailey.
Nover, boy, he and Reynolds have gotten all the garbage hoops tonight.
But Nover ought to run over and hug Bailey. Bailey kept that alive.
Damon Bailey picks up the foul.
He kept that active. Here's a kid that came in so heralded out of high school. Trying to live up to all those credentials is almost impossible.
The wonder kid that Bob Knight sought from his junior high days. Number 1, up by a dozen.
Tim, we're going to watch their number 1 option on a baseline. Lawrence Funderbucke trying to post inside. And then we're going to see the game plan of Indiana. No, freeze it. See, notice number 20, freeze it right there. See the help? Right now, Graham giving help. The reason they double up on the ball is they want to get it out of Funderbucke's hands. And right, that's what they wanted to do. Now Evans is going to deny him the ball, chase him up high. Now look, they'll beat him to the ball. They don't let him get the ball where he wants to touch it. And there's always help around him. Had a triangle formed in front of him. Just a great game plan defensively by Indiana.
Derek Anderson ends a 7-minute Buckeye drought and what had been a 15-0 run by Indiana with that basket.
Anderson's a slashing player. He has to improve his perimeter jump shot, but he's going to be a good one. Matched up on Graham now.
Davis trying to guard LEary.
LEary can shoot the basketball. Just ask Duke how he knocked down those threes in the semifinal last year in the NCAA. See, now their options change with Cheaney out of the lineup. Nover becomes an important option.
Oh, that's a charge on Nover. Nice work by Lawrence Funderbucke setting himself.
Yes, Funderbucke beat him to the spot. Eddie Hightower with the call. We got some crew on his game tonight with Hightower. There's the screen across the lane. Now he catches the ball. The screener becomes the most dangerous guy. Now look at Funderbucke. Rotates over. Eddie Hightower says, you can't step into his chest.
Ed Hightower heading up this crew, including veteran Eric Harmon.
Tom Rucker's been in a year league more than anyone. Outstanding official from out of Detroit.
It's a nice matchup here. Anderson working against Graham.
Graham's really got superb quickness. Notice the switch up on top by Graham.
Brandwie beats Simpson, who explodes. Finds Funderbucke. Missed the jam.
Never got the good grip on the basketball.
Bailey steps up, creates the 3 for Graham.
Just great unselfish basketball. Always looking to make the extra pass to get the high percentage shot and aware of the three-point line.
9 points for Greg Graham. Hoosiers back up by 13, game's largest lead.
Did you notice Bailey hanging around where Mr. Funderbucke was?
Nover controlling the boards and Calbert Cheaney back in.
Nover really gives them a solid rebounder. He's an excellent jumper. Hands are questionable. Doesn't have great hands, Tim. That's one of his problems.
7 of the 9 available Hoosiers have played.
We got it done.
Anderson fouled by Graham.
7
of 9 Hoosiers have played, and all 7 have scored to go back to the unselfishness you were talking about.
Yeah, they got great balance. You know, Tim, right there after the steal, he didn't utilize the speed dribble. The speed dribble is a dribble when you're in front of the defense. You push the ball out in front of you on a high dribble. You use a control dribble when you have a defensive player next to you, and you protect the ball to your side for your youngsters out there.
Both teams have committed 16 fouls to this point.
Louisville wanted this young man badly. He's from Louisville. They really feel that he's going to be outstanding here. Randy Ayers has a lot of positive adjectives to describe Anderson.
Brian Evans coming back into the game, and Matt Nover sits down. Anderson just getting his third start tonight, so you can look back at Randy Ayers' starting lineup, Dick, pre-Big Ten. Looks not at all like the starting lineup we're seeing in February. This may be the lineup, though, that we see all of next year.
Well, he went with experience initially with Brandwie, also Ratliff and Davis, but he's decided to go with the young kids.
Graham beats Bailey. Oh, what a sweet pass.
Great pass. Great diagonal look to Bailey, who's an excellent post-up player, and that's why he was such a big scorer in high school.
Simpson going the distance, draws the foul.
Simpson was a big-time scorer in high school, averaged better than 35 a game. Went to the high school state championship, was beaten in the final by Lagota High School from out of Westchester. Randy Ayers loved him in that final game, though. They got beat 82-80. Keith Greger, who now plays for Cincinnati, played for Lagota.
Brian Evans picked up that foul. That's his first.
You look at me startled with me telling you about Lagota and all. So you didn't have that in your notes. I got my notes. I have to work hard working with you because you do all this research. If I could ever show your cards here, I mean, they're incredible. All these cards are unbelievable. But you know what? You don't need them with me. Just say hi, everybody. I'm with Dick Vitale, and it's all over. You don't say another word.
Easiest check I get. Easiest check I get. Oh, if they could only read what was on the editing room floor when I'm done with you. Skelton comes back into the game, and Alex Davis sits down.
See, right now, Indiana's going to go 2-1-2 against the trap. But you got to step one line behind the ball like he just did right there. Smart move by Reynolds. One step behind the trap so you can reverse the basketball. And then you're trying to get it to someone who posts up. And now they get into their motion game.
Graham, another great pass, though. Credit Evans with that entry.
They really love passing the basketball. It becomes so contagious. You have good ball movement, player movement, and those are the trademarks of Indiana basketball.
34-21, under 5 minutes until halftime.
See Indiana now playing off Anderson. Scouting report says let him shoot the deep shot.
Skelton. Funderbucke follows. He doesn't miss this jam.
Sir Lawrence with the rebound. Last 3 games, 27, 24, and 20 in the win over Wisconsin. There's Indiana going to try to get a little more ball reversal. Swing the ball side to side, break the defenses down.
Oh, another great pass by Evans. Leads to a basket and a foul.
For all you youngsters out there, watch number 20 and why he's so effective and why he goes to the free throw line like he went 28 times in one game against Purdue. Watch him on the top of the circle cut without the basketball. A lost art. Just keep your eye on number 20. There he is with the backdoor cut. He sneaks right behind Simpson, who has no sight of him. First rule defensively, see ball and man. He's saying, please don't show that statistic, 1 rebound. Don't show that I have 1 rebound.
A Big Ten and Indiana school record, 26 of 28 free throws against Purdue over the weekend.
4 of those were technicals.
Simpson uses the glass.
He's a one-on-one player who has to learn to play within the offensive system a little better, but you don't want to inhibit the fact that he has great one-on-one ability offensively.
Indiana's made their last 6 field goals, but Simpson strips Bailey. Numbers to Ayers.
Hello! Hello! A Buckeye bash!
Cheaney. Oh, he just outworked Funderbucke that time, but Brandwie clears.
Brandwie's a good rebounder. They missed Funderbucke. He's wide open. He was under the basket by himself.
Skelton. Henderson can't follow.
Oh, that's a foul.
Skelton picks up a cheapie. Not a good idea, Dick. That's his third.
Third foul. Not a good play on the other end. Funderbucke was wide open, but the offensive player was looking at the floor rather than looking up.
We'll be back. We welcome you back. You haven't missed anything. Calbert Cheaney will have to go to the line. 1 for 5 from the floor is Calbert Cheaney, and you see Skelton forced to leave the game because of that third foul. And he is an offensive alternative in the second half. That's an awfully cheap foul to pick up before halftime.
Especially an experienced player. But you know, you look at Indiana, you're +9 right now. You got Cheaney 1 for 5, not even having a big day. Remember, the magical number he's shooting for is 2,442 points. That's the all-time Big Ten record held by Glenn Rice. He needs 37 to get 2,443 points. What a career he has had coming out of Evansville, Indiana. Just an amazing career. I really feel that I will vote for him for Player of the Year because of the tough competition and winning and making all the big plays. I think it'll come down between Cheaney and Mr. Mashburn.
Now we'll take a timeout, and you won't miss anything, we promise.
Help keep a dream alive and a dedication to community service. And someday, these rising stars will have their own place in Black history.
Indiana off a 15-0 run midway through the first half, have taken an 11-point lead, and the Wednesday jam session comes up tomorrow night. Boston College taking on Connecticut. Pivotal game in the Big East. Scott Burrell will be on display from Gamble Pavilion. Then on to the ACC and a huge matchup. Florida State taking on Duke. Bobby Hurley will get his crack at the Seminoles tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on ESPN.
You know, teams played themselves into tournament possibilities and out of tournament possibilities. Connecticut is right there for a tournament bid. They have really gotten on fire.
Funderbucke off a nice pass from Brandwie. Tom Brandwie matches up well in this game, Dick, and he has not played in 3 of the last 4 games for Ohio State. Do you think Alan Henderson's presence or lack of presence has something to do with Brandwie having a chance to perform?
Well, you know, Brandwie gives them that physical presence that you were talking about. And certainly in a game like this against Indiana, they can utilize it if they can find scoring on the wings.
Funderbucke at the stripe.
Look at that body. I was watching him dress in the locker room. I said, wow, are you put together, big fella.
Brian Evans picked up that foul, his second.
He'll be back next year. They got really a young team, Ohio State. And they feel this is a growing year with all their young people. But the great thing of being in the Big Ten, they can still play themselves in contention for a postseason berth because the toughness of the conference and the opportunity to play good teams.
Well, you get number 1 and number 5 in the same week. Not many leagues can offer you that possibility.
But you got to be able to make something happen when you get that chance and opportunity. And right now, defensively, they're not locking up, doing a good enough job against the Indiana motion. Watch Indiana with that little cut to the post. There's a denial. There's the hustle.
And the deflection off Brandwie. Good call. Evans locks up with a 3. Well, he's an outstanding shooter. Overshadowed somewhat in the controversial end of that Penn State game was how big that basket was in the second overtime, which in essence was the difference.
Evans could really stroke that jump shot. He's really working hard defensively against Funderbucke inside.
Brandwie. Not there. Evans clears.
Indiana putting pressure. Reynolds does a good job of running the ball up the court.
Pat Graham, who we have mentioned very little tonight, but has some minutes under his belt. He got 6 minutes against Purdue. They'd like to see him get 15 to 20 minutes. Of course, he's recovering from his problem, his metatarsal bone in his left foot during preseason practice. Of course, he had not played prior to the Purdue game since Florida State a long time ago.
Well, he played well in that game. I did that game, and if they did not have him on the floor, they don't beat Florida State. He had 11 big points, and he was getting ready to have himself an outstanding year. You know, he sat out last year with the same injury. He had a surgery to that foot. It's been a tough go for Pat Graham, Mr. Basketball in Indiana.
Charles Macon is back into the game for Ohio State. Funderbucke takes the seat. Hoosiers by 14. Buckeyes need to make a move here in the closing moments of the first half. Davis for 3.
Buckeyes offense, basically, other than Funderbucke, is really perimeter-oriented with guys like Skelton, Davis, and Simpson.
Here's that trap again that caused problems earlier.
Calbert Cheaney is not stepping to the basketball. The first rule you like your people is to step to the ball.
There's an overrule from Tom Rucker. It'll go back the other way. You love to see officials go and get it right, and that's what they did that time.
Well, you got an experienced crew. As a look at the general on his sideline. What a magnificent career when you look at the titles that he's posted. I think one of his greatest accomplishments is offensive foul.
Yeah, against Anderson.
Was going undefeated in 75 and 76 in the Big Ten, 36-6.
Coming up at halftime, the Delta Faucet Report. Our good friend John Saunders is standing by with a look at Virginia and Georgia Tech, St. John's and Georgetown. All of that coming up. Boy, I tell you, I have not seen Indiana turn the ball over as much in their backcourt, yet have this kind of lead in a league game all year.
Well, you're reading my mind, Timmy. I can't believe the way they have played against the trap and to still be a +11 on the road is incredible.
Simpson.
He's a scorer, baby. Remember the name. Put it down in capital letters. He's going to score a lot of points here at Buckeye Land. Greg Simpson.
They're making that run they needed to make before halftime. Pat Graham is rejected.
It's momentum time now. Little stutter step, little showtime, Mr. Simpson.
Oh, Graham really hammered him down along the blocks.
You can see why he was such a big-time scorer on a scholastic level.
Second foul on Greg Graham.
Look at the defensive attack here. Great angle for that block. Good job by Watson. Got the great angle. Sat out last year from out of Columbus, Ohio. Bobby Knight, this is his alma mater. I wonder if he donates some money here. I mean, he played here in 1960 on that team that won the national title. Guys by the name of Havlicek and guys by the name of Lucas. And Knight was a cheerleader. He said, do it, John. Do it, Mr. Lucas.
It's amazing. You look down at the end of that bench where you find his son, Pat Knight, at the very end of that bench. Pictures that you'll find in the lobby in St. John Arena look almost as if it were a carbon copy of Pat Knight, who is now on the Indiana bench.
Well, he played under Fred Taylor. As you look at Pat Knight sitting there, the left-hander, excellent passer.
See, crew cuts are back in the 90s.
Yeah, copy of my crew cut, like Eric Montross does. Here goes the full court pressure. Going to try to invite him into a trap. Simpson playing head-to-head on the ball. His problem is playing the guy without the ball.
7-0 run now for the Buckeyes, Dick, in the last minute and 40 seconds. Pat Graham. Davis caught in the air, out of bounds to Indiana.
Graham was very hesitant shooting the basketball. And normally, if you were to put a report on Mr. Graham, outstanding shooter with the velvet touch. He's a Hoosier all the way, a kid that you'd think about playing in the backyard, shooting jump shots. That's really what Pat Graham is all about.
There's some debris on the floor, Dick, and there will be a warning issued by the public address announcer that any more of that and there'll be a technical.
Throwing of debris for the safety of the players. Please refrain from throwing debris. Any debris thrown on the court could result in a technical foul being assessed to Ohio State.
Yeah, the home team is responsible to make sure that that floor is safe. You can have a technical foul.
Evans, three-pointer. Off the back iron. Again, the loose balls to Indiana, and a foul on Watson.
No one blocked out Evans. He got the good look at the basket. As Simpson saying, come on, calm down, Antonio. Randy Ayers taking over for Gary Williams. Did an outstanding job. Won 70 games in his first 3 years. Only lost 23 coming into this season. 26-6 last year. Big Ten champs.
Dick, lost in this youth movement is that this young coach of only 36 years, when I think 36 years of age, Randy Ayers never as a head coach has had to experience this, losing double-digit games prior to mid-February. So this is a very interesting year for him as a young coach.
He's handled it really well. Talking to him in a locker room before the game, I think he's very, very wise in terms of the way he's handling his young people. He realizes the toughness of the conference. He realizes the youth he's putting on the floor with guys like Simpson and Watson and Anderson, all first-year players.
7 for Brian Evans, and we mentioned Bob Knight's son, and he'll get some playing time here. The sophomore, Pat Knight.
He can really pass the basketball. Excellent passer. He didn't learn that from his dad, though. His dad couldn't pass, couldn't shoot, couldn't guard anybody. No, he could really stroke the ball, Bobby.
Davis. Oh, Alex Davis really feeling it since coming in for the Buckeyes.
He's a rhythm shooter. He's the kind of guy that's got to get into that rhythm and that flow. See, Simpson plays the ball tough, but then he has a tendency, as most young people, he loses sight of his man.
It was 41-27 with 1:50 to play, and the Buckeyes have gotten it down under 10 prior to halftime. This is extremely important to this young team.
Yes, psychologically, really a real important element as Indiana now trying to stretch it out for the high percentage shot. Stretching the defense out. You got to go to your number one option. There he is.
Not there. And we're at halftime. And they go in with momentum on their side as number one Indiana trails by 7. I look forward to a very important second half when we come back. Let's get to John Saunders. John?
All right, Tim and Dick, thank you very much. Indiana, as you know, trying to become just the 5th team since World War II to go undefeated through the Big Ten schedule. Welcome right now to the Delta Faucet halftime report, and keep it right here. Very full halftime. We'll have highlights from the Big 8, the Big East, and the ACC. Right now we're at halftime in the Big Ten.
Hello, I'm Gordon Gee, president of The Ohio State University. You might think that with more than 50,000 students in Columbus, Ohio State is very big. And you'd be very right. Our size and our many programs offer students an incredible array of opportunities. But we know how to make a big place small. At Ohio State, you're bound to discover new interests, new friends, and a place to call your own.
The Ohio State University, the one whose size fits all.
Indiana leads Ohio State 43-36. We are at halftime, and we have come to that segment in our Super Tuesday where the big cheese comes on with a little extra thick cheese pizza for us, right?
Well, we talk about the Pizza Player of the Week.
That's right.
We can talk about Irvin Johnson. He was sensational down in New Orleans. Irvin, the big fella's been rebounding, sweeping the glass, and scoring. But I'm sorry, Irvin. We can talk about Chris Mills. He was fantastic. Hey, we could talk about Rodney Rogers, but no, we're going to go with our winner. We're going out to Seton Hall University, and we're going to Terry DeHare, baby. He was unbelievable this week. He had 41 on the Johnnies, the Redmen. He put on an unbelievable show. He had a big game against Georgetown. He had 56 points in his 2 games, and he became the all-time leading scorer at Seton Hall, breaking the record of Nick Workman. So our winner, our Pizza Player of the Week, Terry DeHare. Hey, Terry, stop and smell the pizza, baby.
That decision had absolutely nothing to do that he plays at Vital's alma mater. Believe me when I tell you that. We'll be back in a moment.
He asked.
ESPN's NCAA basketball is brought to you by Payne Weber. We believe our most important investment is an investment in relationships. And by the new Subaru Impreza. What to drive.
The number one Indiana Hoosiers have a 43-36 lead, but they led 41-27 at one point. It was their largest lead. Then in the last 2.5 minutes, Dick, they were held from the floor to 1 for 7. The Buckeyes had a major spurt and give every indication that they're here to stay in the second half.
Well, they really broke down offensively. Indiana did against the trap. I thought the trap was very effective by Ohio State. And then they converted from the trap on the other end of the floor. They did a great job of hustling back, causing deflections. There's the recovery. And now they push it up the floor, and they're going to finish it with some momentum. A slam dunk. There's the lob up to Mr. Anderson. Jam City. The Buckeyes go bananas and get Uncle Mo on their side as they go to the locker room.
There were times, though, that Indiana had a clear sail all the way from one end of the floor to the other.
Well, I thought there was a poor job by Ohio State stopping the basketball as we watched Todd LEary right there, but a little change in direction, go coast to coast, take the ball to the rack with the score, gets fouled. And we look at the totals right here. 57% for Indiana, certainly very good. 46 for Ohio State. And we look at the rebounds. Indiana better than 2-1, almost a 3-1 margin.
10 of those 21 rebounds, Dick, were on the offensive end and led to putbacks. I can't recall a time, though, when we have seen an Indiana team turn it over 11 times, yet lead by 7 in a Big Ten game.
And Ohio State did an excellent job with the turnover against the Generals team. They did a great job taking the turnover and converting and scoring.
Greg Graham had 13 points. That's the good news. The bad news, 6 of their 11 turnovers were by Greg Graham. So I'm sure Bob Knight wants him to do a better job of protecting the ball.
They didn't do a good job in terms of their movement of the basketball against the trap. They really weren't in the perfect alignment. I think Cheaney's going to have a big second half. He's going to break out. He was only 1 for 6 in that first half.
Indiana's bench also responsible for 10 points and 6 rebounds.
I think they'll try to get Cheaney started right away, looking for him immediately.
There's Calbert off the screen from Nover. You called it.
Well, you just could feel that they're a very smart basketball team, and Calbert a very heady player. He came right off that screen, stepped back. The most dangerous player on the floor is the screener.
How many times do we see it? To open a half, Indiana drives in a little bit of a nail, just to let you know that they're here. Funderbucke over Nover, not there. Cleared by Calbert Cheaney.
Cheaney's got to pick up his game from the first half. He was not even an all Big Ten player in that first half. He's got to show them why he's an All-American. As a look at Jimmy Jackson, will he be a Laker? Rumors going rampant? I'll tell you one thing, Dallas has got to make some decision. The dumbest statement of all time, Peter Vesey called it in his paper, was the general manager. I mean, I can't believe Gordon Sanchez said we're going to treat the Jimmy Jackson case like Lenny Bias. I mean, it's unbelievable. There's no reason for that. Insanity. Disgrace to basketball, that Dallas Mavericks, the team they have assembled. A disgrace. Oh, I better get into this game. We're not doing the NBA. You look startled.
Watson from the top of the key.
Hey, Watson, they really like his athletic ability for a big player. Prop 48, sat last year out, has earned the starting role. Very active big guy.
Graham for 3. Long rebounds belonging to the Hoosiers. Nover. Missed a chippy, Funderbucke.
Yeah, he hesitated taking the ball to the goal. He was anticipating Funderbucke to come over with the block shot. Secondary phase of the transition game. That's a walk-in violation. He lifted that pivot foot.
Sure did. Eric Harmon right on top of it. Funderbucke turns it over. He has a time that's happened to Randy Ayers' team.
He has a tendency of picking that pivot foot up.
Charles Macon back into the game, who's been getting some productive minutes in recent outings. When Macon comes into the game, much as the case with Antonio Watson, just keep the ball alive. And right now, that's Ohio State's biggest problem, allowing Indiana so many offensive rebounds.
Surprised they're taking Funderbucke out so early here in the first half, second half.
Macon will pick up that foul against Matt Nover.
Macon, Mr. Basketball in Indiana, a prestigious honor. This year it may go to Sharon Wilkerson from out of Jeffersonville, who will be a Hoosier next year, or it can go to a little guy by the name of Kojak Fuller from out of Anderson High School. They say this little 5'6" dynamo is something else.
You mentioned Terry DeHara, our Pizza Hut player of the week. They're out to a good start tonight in the Big East.
That's a big game there for Georgetown. Georgetown on the brink of being knocked out of the postseason for the first time. They got a run of 14 consecutive years. In fact, Georgetown, one of only 4 teams that could go for the last 10 years if they were to make it to the big party this season. As a double up as soon as the ball goes to the post. Graham. Oh, a nice move into the lane. What a recruiting class. Bring it in Graham and Cheaney and Reynolds. So productive. Greg Graham with that little dribble penetration in the lane. Got to stop the basketball. Cut off driving angles. Watch this guy play the ball. I mean, he loves to play defense. He could be a defensive back, number 21, Chris Reynolds. He really loves to pressure the ball. You almost have to keep the ball away from him. Simpson, that's a charge. Nice defensive work by Greg Graham again. Well, you know, Simpson, a typical young player, has a tendency to be out of control. Now watch the defensive player beat him to a spot. See right there? Mr. Graham beats him to the spot. You're allowed, once you have initial defensive position with both feet on the ground, a lot of people will say, well, he's moving. Well, he's allowed to move. Most celebrated guard to sign out of high school since perhaps Kelvin Ramsey. I mean, you have to go that far back since the Buckeyes got one as celebrated, and Indiana returns the favor. Bob Knight has seen far too many of those tonight. He definitely traveled with that basketball. You got to establish that pivot foot. Crowd's trying to get into it, trying to get them in the game.
I think it's smart playing Simpson, letting him learn, let him make mistakes, let him learn along the way, because he's going to be a prolific scorer here in Buckeye land.
Macon.
Oh, this is unbelievable. And it is the walk. They're lifting their pivot foot.
There have been times this season, Dick, in certain games, we've seen those types of steps allowed. But, you know, you got to call them, and we've got a good crew tonight, and they're going to call those travels.
Well, I think that a lot of them are trying to take the little act for maybe the NBA where they get away with that. See these guys do that on a playground. Nobody blows the whistle.
Bailey with a nice bounce pass, but Reynolds is rejected. Watson and Macon responsible at that time. Antonio swatting it away. Funderbucke coming in.
An excellent pass, Tim, but not a good decision, because you got to know who you're giving the ball up to. You're giving the ball up to Reynolds, who's a non-scorer on the inside, and the defense rotates over, and it's all basketball.
That's a pretty good pass off the inbounds, and Bailey again on the offensive glass.
Damon Bailey, always around the basketball. He was a big-time scorer, the best in the history of high school basketball in Indiana, because he scored a lot on the boxes inside and a lot of offensive rebounds.
49-38.
See how soft he plays on Anderson? He doesn't even get near him. He'll let Anderson play out here all day. You watch when 23 touches the ball.
Simpson, ill-advised.
Got to take him out for a minute.
Graham over Anderson.
They beat him down the court for the easy layup because nobody rotated back. There was no balance. I think Randy needs a TO, baby, and they're going to get one.
He does. Though there would have been a TV timeout, Ayers takes one to stop the bleeding, and we can understand why.
St. John's in Georgetown. The Hoyas open up a 5-point lead in the second half. Then St. John's went on a 12-0 run, including David Kane with this leaner. They lead by 5 now. Tim and Dick.
John, thank you. What a remarkable job Brian Mahoney has done since taking over for Little Louie in what was supposed to be a transitional year for the Redmen.
He's replaced the legend. He's done a remarkable job, but not as good as job as John has done. With little Jenna at home with his lovely wife, Wanda. John working his studio big-time style. I can't wait to see it, John. Get my seat ready for me in a couple weeks.
That's right. Championship week will be starting on March 6th on ESPN.
Oh, there's a nice little ball movement.
Anderson with a 3.
And he shows he can shoot the basketball. They've been playing off him, Tim, allowing him to look at the goal, and he's got to square his body and try at least to knock it down to get a little respect. Ohio State's had 2 bad spurts thus far in this game.
Cheaney for 3.
Cheaney is not active enough tonight, moving without the basketball. He's very stationary.
Macon drives baseline. Buckeyes are pressing sometimes, particularly down low, but Macon does follow this time.
They call him Killer Macon with the big hustle.
Crowd trying to get into it. Randy Ayers encouraging his club. Here comes the trap. And there's another turnover.
I mean, Indiana, we're looking at #1 in the nation. And Bobby Knight has got to be frustration city, thinking about, wow, we got an 8-point lead, and we really played horrendous against that trap.
14 turnovers, way above the Hoosier average in any game against any team.
But it's the kind of turnover, Tim, out of sync, out of rhythm.
See, that's already their limit. That's their quota for most games. We still have 14.5 to play.
Let's see the kind of ball movement. Funderburke's got to get active down in the box inside.
Anderson off the dribble.
Hey, Anderson is saying, who said I can't shoot the ball? Scouting report's going to play soft on me. They love it. He's got a nice looking stroke. He's got a think shot.
8 unanswered for the Buckeyes.
Pick up your dribble, a no-no.
Graham. The iron unkind to Greg Graham.
And momentum, here it is again, a spurt by the Buckeyes. If they can get Funderbucke involved, he's drifting a little bit. He's got to get really active down in the box. So want the ball.
Funderbucke's got it. And he's fouled.
He's got to want the ball. He's got to be hungry. He's got to call for it. And they got to get him the ball inside. See, now we're going to watch the post move by number 34. Watch him steal and hold off. He says, Nover, you're not going to get around me. And then I'm going to turn and shoot that little fadeaway J. And he gets fouled on a play. He's an outstanding student academically.
Matt Nover now has 3.
Not even close. He jerked that shot. He had no real follow-through. Pulled the string. He's got to concentrate, Tim.
2 for 5 at the stripe. And Evans will come into the game. Damon Bailey will take a seat.
Got to go for some size on the floor now.
Does not get the roll. He's out of bounds, though, off Indiana. Both Nover and Cheaney collided.
He's slinging that shot up there. He's not really getting that good arc and that good rotation.
A look of disbelief from Bob Knight.
Can't put the knockout punch. They can't lay a Riddick bow on him at all.
Skip pass, not a good idea. Reynolds gets in the way, and a near turnover by Ohio State.
Reynolds shows why I made my own Velcro team along with Phelps and A.C. Earl as an eraser in the back line. Phelps and Reynolds, I wouldn't want those two guys checking me down in North Carolina. Derek.
You just can't make a lazy pass against Indiana. They'll make you pay.
Well, they anticipate well when they step in the passing lane. Crowd is getting alive, Tim.
They'll erupt if they score here, that's to be sure.
See, Indiana's allowed them to swing the basketball.
Macon. That was a big trip because of the 2 misses and then getting it back.
See, right now, Cheaney's got to be active. He's got to want the ball. Had a little curl move. He's got the size advantage.
Nover. Matt Nover, another workmanlike basket for Nover. He has 8.
Just working hard without the basketball. Toughest guy to guard.
Skelton with a jump stop. He has 7. That's his first field goal since the early going first minute of the game.
And there's that trap. Cheaney trying to drift into the middle. And they're playing Cheaney head-to-head.
Reynolds works into Graham.
Greg Graham again with that little slashing move, cutting without the ball.
Anderson stripped by Graham. It'll be controlled to Ohio State.
I'll tell you one thing, this Indiana team without Alan Henderson, no way, Jose, can they win a national championship. Sweet 16, I think, is maximum without a healthy Henderson to provide that special dimension on the interior.
Funderbucke just threw that one up from the hip.
He's really struggling right now, Tim. He's really struggling.
Nover gets position. Got Macon airborne, couldn't convert. Numbers for Anderson.
3 on 1.
To Anderson, yes.
2 type of dandies, baby. Simpson, Anderson, remember those names. You're going to hear a lot about them in Buckeye Land.
Here comes the crowd, better than 13,000.
They are playing Cheaney really tough, bumping on him. He's been standing around a little bit.
Evans silences the crowd for the moment.
What a nice dimension to have a big guy that can step out and knock down that jump shot.
Skelton from NBA range.
NBA, all right, baby. That's NBA, nothing but nylon.
2 weeks ago, in the Nittany Valley, number 1 got a scare. They may be getting another scare tonight.
There's no doubt about getting a scare.
Evans. Skelton brings it down.
And remember, for the Buckeyes, what's at stake? They're 12 and 10. They need a big win.
Macon over the back.
You know, to set the record straight here, they have 5 games left. If they can win 4 out of 5 and be 16 and 11, they can get into the big dance, Ohio State, because that'll put them 9 and 9 in the Big Ten. But they must win 4 out of 5, and this game is big, baby, big.
And you can put a value on Delta, the way water is brought to life.
The number 1 team in the nation has a 4-point lead, but number 1 has been leaky at best this year until the past month when the Hoosiers have taken over, and they've done as we anticipated everything you'd ask of a team to do once getting that ranking. But they're getting another scare tonight, as they did against Penn State 2 weeks ago. Ohio State really not getting much from Funderbucke. 6 points, 4 boards, 2 of 7 from the floor, 2 of 6 from the line, Dick.
Yeah, you would think without Alan Henderson present that he would be much more of a dominator inside. His last 3 games has been really effective, scoring better than 71. Well, he had 71 points in his last 3 games.
Cheaney, how many times after a timeout do you see the #1 option take the shot for Indiana?
Well, see, they have great definition to their offensive system, and they really define what a good shot is, and that was set up in the timeout to get him the shot.
Lob, not there. Macon may have pushed off. He did against Calbert Cheaney.
See, that really hurts. Another freshman mistake right there. You can't come up in a possession like this and not get a shot at the basket.
3rd foul on Macon.
So you don't want kids to start to get into the habit of looking for the moral victory that we played them close, because we're young. You want them to get over the hump and start to realize you can win. You can play them this tough, this long. You can also win.
Ohio State, since early in this game, a drought of better than 7 minutes, has been constantly catching up in this game.
Cheaney's got size over Skelton. He's trying to post on him and shoot over the top of him. They're going to rotate it to Cheaney. Cheaney's got great size right now, but he's got to be a little more active without the ball. Easiest guy to play is the guy that stands.
He lost it off the curl move that time. Loose ball, finally controlled by Graham. Shot clock down to 2. Another offensive board, though this time a foul is spotted against Derek Anderson.
Greg Graham, very active on the glass. A sign of being an aggressive player is getting on the offensive boards.
We are at St. John Arena in Columbus, Ohio. The #1 Hoosiers of Indiana with a 6-point lead. 9:34 remaining. First half of Super Tuesday. Tim Brando, Dick Vitale, enjoying it in Columbus tonight. But Lawrence Funderbucke not having one of his better games. He'll go to the Pine, and Alex Davis checks in, who did provide a lot of offensive punch in the first half for Randy Ayers.
Well, he has that excellent wing jump shot. Let's see if they get the ball to Cheaney. He's got that size advantage over Skelton, but he's standing a little bit too much. See, he's not active enough. Just standing. They match right up on him. They're going to double him up.
Off the screen by Nover. Evans can't collect it. Cheaney fouled, and on the deck, Jamie Skelton picks up a 4th.
See, Jamie Skelton doesn't have the size to stay and neutralize him on the glass. Now watch Cheaney right now. Gets the ball out of his hands. Now they're going to bump on him. And now he's trying to get inside position. He's trying to seal off. Wow.
Buckeyes have committed 16 fouls.
Look at right up in his face. Skelton says, you're going to have to put it on the floor to beat me. See, the one rap on Cheaney has been, can he put it on the floor consistently?
Cheaney.
I mean, he worked for that deuce. He really worked for that deuce in that possession. He was getting bumped. He was getting played right in his face.
Time for the Buckeyes to answer. Wake-up call now. After you make a run, you have to sustain against a team like the Hoosiers. Won't fall for Skelton.
They really go into those droughts. They go to those 3-4 minute droughts, and it really puts them against the wall, and then they've always been able to come back, but they've never been able to get over the hump because they don't play consistently.
Randy Ayers goes to Tom Brandwie, and Skelton takes a seat. Also, Derek Anderson, who needed a blow, gives way to Watson, who's checked into the game. Buckeyes getting a little bigger along the blocks.
Reynolds with dribble penetration.
Evans for 3. Watson clears.
Evans has got to work on a little driving to his game. He's becoming too one-dimensional, always looking jump shot, jump shot, jump shot. What a young team they have on that floor.
Watson, jump hook, using the window.
His first year playing, sat last year out. I've always said I thought Prop 48, the penalty's too severe. They can't practice, they can't get financial aid. They lose a year's eligibility. We're supposed to help kids, not hurt kids.
Cheaney, nice look to Graham, drawing the foul.
Cheaney reverses the action. He becomes the passer. Part of the Indiana offense. Watch Cheaney with the good bounce pass. He'll drive it into Graham. Graham, who cuts well without the ball. He moves better without the basketball than any other Indiana player. The best of all time was Steve Alford.
Damon Bailey has come back into the game. That foul was on Watson, and as we mentioned, Indiana in the bonus the rest of the way. The Hoosiers as a team have only committed one team foul, which has the attention of the 13,000 plus here in Columbus. But you do the things Indiana does, you'll get to the line more than the opposition. They have done that throughout Bob Knight's era.
That's really part of his offensive scheme, is to out-really statistic people on the free throw line and convert on the line.
As voiced by the fans, they know the team foul situation.
All this plus the ESPYs on March 4th on ESPN.
7:45 remaining, Indiana by 8. And when you think of the 89 class, now Chris Lawson is doing pretty well for Eddie Fogler. They're ranked 8th in the country. Lawrence Funderbucke obviously doing a good job here at Ohio State, though struggling tonight. But what a group that was Bob Knight brought in 89.
Well, you know, the great test of a class is to see what they do after their 4 years. Look at the number of wins. I mean, you're looking at the wins that this group has put together. It's been incredible. We've been told, what, 86 wins they've achieved? That's incredible. That's incredible.
Davis. He provided a spark in the first half. They'll need some spark offensively in the remaining 7+ minutes if they are to entertain any thought at overtaking the #1 Hoosiers.
You know, Buckner's team back in the mid-70s had 86 wins. This group has 80 wins, which is close to 27 this season.
Brandwie, Ratliff now in the game, and a foul spotted against Chris Reynolds.
They did a good job running the ball up the court right there. You know, I'm still reflecting back on those numbers. They're amazing. Think about this. The Quinn Buckner era posted 86 wins, won the national championship when they went undefeated in 1976. But you think of this group winning 80 games, and they still have games to play. I mean, that's almost 27 wins a year. And you spill all water,
no,
that's a turnover.
No, that's Coke, and I didn't spill it.
Our stat guy did a big pat.
Indiana's had some turnovers. We just had our own here at the table.
Just don't get it on my beautiful new blazer, please.
Eric Anderson forced to call a timeout, but didn't do it in time. Did not do it in time. The 5-second call came prior to the timeout.
Ayers looking at the composition of this team. What a difference when you had the experience. Last year, you could put the ball in the hands of a Jimmy Jackson. Let's see what they do with the trap. There's the diagonal post-up man. Nobody played him that time. They do a great job coming from behind Ohio State after you initially beat the trap.
Bailey was looking to launch the 3, but he could not control the pass from Reynolds.
Cheaney's going to try to run his man into a screen. Seems to be getting a little bit more active. Let's see what he does without the ball. The sign of a great player is to move without the ball.
Shot clock at 5, Bailey. Another offensive rebound.
That Graham is just something special.
That's where the game has been won, Dick. When you turn it over as often as Indiana has, you have to have putbacks. They've done that by virtue of being more active on the offensive glass.
Yeah, they've been much more aggressive to the glass. And that was a concern of Randy Ayers before the game, charting on his blackboard.
21 second chance points for the Hoosiers.
So the one thing about Cheaney, he doesn't take many bad shots. If the shot's not there, he's not going to really try to force it. They're looking to try and get him up. He's got Simpson playing him. He's got to take advantage of him right now.
Reynolds, after 50 seconds went off the clock in that offensive sequence, but the Hoosiers come up empty.
Only positive, though, they used a lot of time.
5.5 remaining. 8-point lead for Indiana. They led by 7 at halftime. Watson is fouled. Nover got him with a leg. Are you surprised that With this little time remaining, Funderburke's not in.
Yeah, well, he's coming in right now for the stretch drive, for the winning time. I'm really surprised that he hasn't been a much more dominant player because of the fact of playing without Henderson. And what a hurt being put on Notre Dame by North Carolina. Down there in Chapel Hill, a little revenge for last year.
You saw that Georgia Tech score. They are playing themselves into the NCAA tournament should they beat the Cavaliers tonight.
Oh, they'll be in the dance, no question. See, right now, Simpson's got to be a threat along with Skelton. Funderbucke, let's see if he takes the ball to the goal.
Just appears tentative in there, Dick. Skelton not there, and again, Evans keeping it alive. Hoosiers just seem to want it more down there.
A little bit more active, a little bit more aggressive.
Eric Anderson picks up his fourth, and more players for Randy Ayers getting into foul difficulty. That's 4 on Anderson, who was one of the offensive alternatives in the remaining 5+ minutes that he has. Look at that. And so many of those rebounds coming on the offensive end.
Well, we often said that a sign of playing aggressive basketball is forcing turnovers, deflections, offensive rebounds, and blocking shots. Well, tonight, the one thing about Indiana, the constant in their formula usually is solid team defense and aggressive play. Usually they're going to always play with intensity. I think the thing that marvels me the most about Indiana, very reflective also of Notre Dame in football, is that everybody plays at another level against you where they make it their big game and you try to sustain winning, and responding to that challenge is really special.
Lead back to double digits for the Hoosiers, 65-55. Evans checking Funderbucke. Lawrence having difficulty. Can't hit on the follow, and Anderson, who's active, gets the follow.
Anderson, good-looking player. That's good inside-outside skills. Funderbucke really pulling the trigger on his shot.
There's a rejection by Macon.
They need a big three. They need a big three. They got to look to get to the three. Simpson's capable of it, and so is Skelton.
Skelton for 3. There's a foul on Bailey. That should be a 3-shotter. It is.
Not a good play by Damon Bailey. Reminiscent of the play in the corner that you had in the Nittany Lions game when they fouled Mr. Graham and allowed him 3 opportunities.
That's foul by Greg Bartram, who had been involved in the earlier play when his jersey had obviously been pulled by Chris Reynolds.
What pressure on this guy right here. I mean, you feel it. You just look at his face and you can feel that he doesn't seem to be relaxed as a player, that he feels this mountain of pressure based on his tremendous high school accomplishments.
Junior from Dayton, Ohio, Cheaney Skelton.
They just don't go away, though. Every time Indiana gets a double-digit lead, Timmy, here they come, they make a play, and they hang.
Alex Davis has come back into the game.
Explosive.
Simpson checks out.
Look at those numbers right there.
Down the stretch, if they're to make a move, it's Skelton and Anderson from 3-point range.
He converts this. Look for him to get into their 3-quarter trap. Let's see if Indiana recognizes the trap. They've been having a tough time all night with it. There's 2 basic things you want to do against that trap. You want a guy that you can reverse the basketball to, and number 2, you want to post someone up.
Cheaney takes it away.
The missed free throw really hurts because you can't rotate into your trap half court. Straight man-to-man.
And can Indiana initiate a half-court offense?
What a screen laid by Evans to get Cheaney free. These young freshmen never seen screens like this playing on a high school level last year. Fucking Macon and Simpson.
On the reach, a foul against Davis.
Can't just keep putting Indiana on that free throw line. I know they lost 2 games where they didn't shoot well. There's the dump down inside. Now there's the reach in. He thinks he has all ball. Tom Rucker says no. You know, in their 2 losses to Kentucky and Kansas, they really were hurt on the free throw line, not converting.
More debris being thrown onto the floor, and Bob Knight ventures over to the scores table to give a little body language. make them aware that it's time for another announcement.
He's so really concerned about Alan Henderson and whether or not he'll be able to come back. The one thing that has to happen initially is that the swelling in the knee has to go down.
Well, it's tightening up between the Hoyas and the Redmen. John Saunders will keep you posted on those scores and more prior to our move to the SEC and a pivotal ball game in the SEC West between Bama and LSU immediately following this game.
Let's see what they do in this possession. I got to think about the wing jump shot. You got to think about Davis or Skelton. Both playing the wings in their offense. Anderson handling it up on top.
Funderbucke backs in. And gets the roll.
He earned that one. He didn't hesitate. He went up quickly with the basketball.
Fans wanted to walk.
Yeah, they've almost missed one there.
Those were Funderburke's first points of the second half, Dick.
Yeah, well, he sat quite a bit. They're doing a great job on Cheaney. Really keeping Cheaney from getting a great look at the basket. It's being played by Macon now. It's the one time I have seen Cheaney this year where he has not really been super active without the ball.
Oh, a nice reach by Anderson. Davis pulls it away. Now will patience take over for this young team?
Well, they need poise, patience, and shot selection.
Henderson to Macon. Foul by Evans.
Now you got to convert these free throws.
Boy, that's a nice move, splitting that defensive deployment by Derek Anderson.
Well, Anderson does a great job of bringing the defense to him, and then he dumps it off. And there's the foul. Remember what's at stake here. Indiana's undefeated in the conference. They're #1 in the nation. They still want that #1 seed. If you were to look today, they'd be the #1 seed in the Midwest and probably play their early rounds over at the Hoosier Dome.
Macon with some very important free throw tries.
Really struggling on that free throw line. Funderbucke missed those two a little bit earlier.
60% on the year for Macon.
You know, if I were looking at #1 seeds today, I'd talk about Indiana as we look at the free throw line. Indiana in the Midwest. I'd send Michigan out to the West. I'd put Kentucky in the Southeast, and I'd put North Carolina in the East.
66-62. And listen to the crowd at St. John Arena.
Our intention was not merely to create a thing of beauty, but to create one that will stand the test of time.
Indiana leads Ohio State by 4. Plenty of time remaining. 2:49. Super Tuesday continues. Dale Brown would love to take his team to a 10th straight NCAA. To do it, he needs an impact win at home. He'll have that chance against Alabama. The Crimson Tide 2 under 500 in the league. LSU 2 above 500 in the SEC Western Division.
Now take a look right here. We're going to see them matching up, trying to get into a trap out of the matchup. Now here it is. The ball's thrown in now. They're playing head-to-head, man-to-man. Invite him into a trapping area. Indiana trying to get good spacing offensively. Remember, at stake now, Ohio State hanging, trying to get an NCAA berth. A win over Indiana certainly would help.
Michigan coming in this weekend, a chance at #1 and #5, all in the same week.
Indiana spreading the court, spacing. So important when they get late in the game to take away double teams. See, Cheaney's got to show that he's a player of the year and an All-American. He's being played by a freshman right now. Macon, and he's got to take advantage of it.
Shot clock down to 6.
He's got to want the rock.
Evans. Oh, it doesn't fall.
I'll tell you, the iron was unkind. Now let's see what happens here in this possession.
Timeout. Randy Ayers wants to talk about it. He'll get Derek Anderson back into the game. That may well have been the reason he took the timeout. 1:54 is left.
St. John's in Georgetown. The Hoyas down by 3, a chance to tie. The freshman Eric Miku goes up, but he's stripped by David Kane. The foul, and the Hoyas lose by 5. Tim and Dick.
All right, John, you ask for a Super Tuesday, put Indiana within it, you're likely to get it. As we reset it for you, the timeout's very important. Remember, the Buckeyes used one when they were in a TV timeout zone when down 13.
They had to use it, though, Tim. I thought it was a smart call, even though they were heading for a TV timeout. Sometimes you got to forget about TV timeouts. All right, right now, look for some dribble penetration and trying to get the wing jump shot to Skelton.
There it is. 66-64. 1.5 remaining. #1 at stake.
Jamie Skelton with that wing jump shot. Well, they're digging in defensively on the inside, really playing Cheaney tough. They know that they want to go to Cheaney. They're switching on him.
Nover rejected by Funderbucke. There's a foul against Lawrence Funderbucke, it appears, on a reach.
What a great job they're doing out of their defense on Calbert Cheaney. What they're doing is they're switching anytime he comes off a screen. Ayers has done a masterful job in getting his kids not to be intimidated by the experience and the talent of Calbert Cheaney. And his freshman players have played him as tough as I've seen this year.
Buckeyes season may, in fact, be in the balance. They know if they are to go into the NCAAs, they really need to win 4 of their remaining 5. That means getting all the W's you can at home.
They're 12 and 10, and they got dates, as you said, Indiana here and Michigan Sunday.
Nover now 0 for 3 from the line in the game.
Winning time, must make free throws. Winning time, you must have good shot selection. Winning time, you must play solid team defense. 3 elements of being a winner.
Still a 1-possession game. Hoosiers by 3.
And a 1-possession game with 3-point shooters, Simpson, and also, when you talk Skelton.
And Henderson, who steps up for 2.
He has really been big here in the second half. He handles the ball well.
Now the pressure, it's full court, and Simpson picks up a quick one. I think Ayers asked for that foul.
You know, not a bad foul. Reynolds certainly not a great shooter.
That puts him at the stripe. He's hovering around 65% for Indiana.
He's thinking a lot about it, too, stepping off that line rather than stepping to the line. Puts a lot of pressure on himself.
Some of the most impressive free throws I saw were by Graham after he missed that first free throw 2 weeks ago. He had to make the 2 to send it to overtime. Similar story this time for Reynolds.
He gets the roll. Reynolds steps in. What a big-time winner that kid is. He does all the little things coaches dream of. There's the timeout.
Last timeout used by the Buckeyes. The shot clock will be at 43, so essentially they'll get to hold it to distance. Ohio State's remaining games, as we mentioned, Michigan coming up this weekend, then at Illinois, Minnesota, and Purdue. Realistically, those are tough games, but if you beat Indiana, you've got every reason to believe you can win all but one of those games.
Well, you know, psychologically, it's such a big lift, and really they're chasing an unbelievable miracle trying to get in the tournament. Indiana's chasing the dream of wrapping up the Big Ten championship and possibly going unbeaten at Minnesota, where they had a tough time last year. In fact, this year they were fortunate to nip Minnesota.
You see all the teams in Big Ten play that have gone through undefeated. Hoosiers are 3 of those teams, and what's most impressive about those 2 you see there are 18-0 in 75 and 76.
In 1961, Bobby Knight was part of the team at Ohio State that went undefeated. Now you talk a little strategy. What are coaches doing here? He's letting them know time on the clock, score, matchups defensively, and on the offensive end right now, Ayers designing his option. My feeling is here, you don't automatically think of the 3. If the 3 is part of your offensive set and you got the good look at the 3, you shoot the 3. But if you can get the score within, let's say, 10 seconds and a quick deuce, you're still in good position here for a chance to win this game with another possession.
We got an example of that in the last possession when Simpson, or check that, Anderson, in fact, stepped up inside the arc and took a better 2-shot or 2-point basket.
Let's see what they do right here.
43 and counting.
Right now, Simpson is currently a good dribbler and a good penetrator. Skelton's a three-point shooter. Anderson's got size, so look for him to penetrate and to find someone. Find Skelton. See, right now they're using a lot of time.
Skelton forced it. Got the roll.
I'll tell you, talk about a shooter's roll. He was inside the three-point line.
And a quick foul.
It's going to come down to making free throws.
He had to step up, though, Dick, to put that one in. And it was a force, but it counted.
Without the ball.
Here's the last possession by Ohio State. Watch Jamie Skelton, the guy we said they would go to. They're going to set a big screen for him. Freeze it. See, now the defensive player gets right over the top of the screen. Makes it very tough for Mr. Skelton to get a three-point shot. His right foot is over the line. The right foot definitely over the three-point line, and that's a deuce.
You have to credit Greg Graham's defense stepping through that screen.
Yeah, getting over the top rather than stepping behind the screen.
Indiana, one of its last 9 from the floor. They're likely to get to the free throw line this time. Bailey will do the honors after being fouled by Simpson.
Well, it comes down to, as we always say, 3 elements to win. 1, make free throws. 2, play defense. And 3, protect the basketball. Well, right now they go to the free throw line. 2 of their losses have been because they have not converted on the line against Kentucky and Kansas. And even if he converts 2, Ohio State has the chance where then you have to think exclusively for the 3.
Damon Bailey has not stepped to the free throw line tonight. But he did hit some big ones a couple of weeks ago in that scare at Happy Valley. That means conceivably they could play for the win on the final possession for Randy Ayers.
What a dramatic finish. Call your friends. Turn on the tube, baby. They're undefeated, the Hoosiers in the Big Ten. And remember, the Buckeyes trying to spring the upset with their diaper dandies. 2-point game. You got the 3 to win it.
No timeouts remaining, though, for Ohio State. They'll have to go the distance.
You only shoot the 3 if it's within your offense. Right now, you got to think 2. And you don't want to run it down to the last shot because you want to give yourself a chance for the offensive rebound. Watch Funderbucke with the offensive rebound. He could be dangerous.
Evans checking Anderson. Skelton for 3. And Hightower is waving the crowd off. Randy Ayers trying to stop the celebration. But Bob Knight seems ready to leave. Indiana did call timeout.
Look at Hightower taking over with Randy Ayers and Bobby Knight. He looks like a referee in a boxing match right now. Hightower. What? Pandemonium going on here. Chaos. Bobby Knight very restrained.
The security people have made their way out. Even now, they're clearing the floor. And this veteran group, Hightower and company, taking care of the situation. How much time was remaining when the timeout was called? And we have an injured fan on the floor down at the other end near the baseline at the Ohio State basket. We have an injured Buckeye fan.
Take a look at the penetration by Anderson. And there is Skelton drifting out. There's the J. Let's see it goes down. Let's see if they get the quick timeout. They get the time. Here's calling a timeout.
Yeah, Evans.
With 2 seconds on the clock.
We're told they're going to give 2 seconds, which would be accurate by virtue of looking at that replay.
I would really like to see a rule like in the NBA.
There's the injured fan we were talking about.
Where you can put the ball in at midcourt. It's an usher that got hurt.
That was a restraining usher that was bulldozed by some of the students and alumni that were making their way onto the floor.
What an unbelievable finish. They just were not able, Riddick Bowe style, to put him away. They allowed him to hang.
He will not be able to run the baseline, we're told. Here's the shot again by Skelton.
2 seconds left. Eddie Hightower gave us the report. There's the jumper. They go for the 3. They go for the big W. That was within their offensive set. Penetration off the dribble by Anderson, which they've been getting the entire game.
You really have to credit the officials here. Ed Hightower, Tom Rooker, Eric Harmon getting control of the crowd. 2 seconds will be left. Now, Indiana will not be able to run the baseline. That's something to remember as they try to trigger this inbound pass.
And remember, the clock does not start. As you look at the undefeated teams, Indiana looking at 13-1 if they lose this game. The clock does not start until it touches a player on the floor.
LEary is in the game. Obviously, they'd like to get a 3 from him. Indiana with the 1 timeout remaining. They could get it to midcourt and take a quick one.
I'll tell you one thing. Credit the great defense by Ohio State on Calbert Cheaney tonight. They're releasing Cheaney, throwing a baseball pass. They get a foul. I can't believe it. They set it up and they get a foul. Incredible. Oh, a no-no by the freshman makes contact. They set a screen up. One of the old plays in basketball. Wish we had the telestrator. Anderson makes contact. Now watch Cheaney releases. Now freeze it right here. Freeze it. Anderson runs right over the screener. Now see the screener, lay the screen, and they take the charge. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Coming to the free throw line. Look at Randy Ayers.
That's exactly what Ayers is saying. And lightning can strike twice for the General in Happy Valley 2 weeks ago, and now at his alma mater on the road against Ohio State.
And think what's at stake. Indiana undefeated. You think about Ohio State with so much pressure on them, needing a win for keeping their hopes alive for a possible NCAA berth.
Crowd control really a factor. More debris being thrown onto the floor.
Yeah, we're getting hit right here. Getting hit with all kinds of coins. Incredible. There's no reason for throwing things. That's absolutely poor sportsmanship. Anytime you throw something on the floor, you endanger every player out there, your own as well as the opposition.
Something also to remember, this long stoppage of play only serves to ice the man shooting the free throw. I mean, we've had a long wait between the time that foul was committed and this free throw coming up. They're putting 2 seconds back on the clock.
Freeze it right there. There's the run. Ran right over Anderson. They set him up perfectly. Indiana survived in that scare up in Happy Valley. And here goes Reynolds on the free throw line.
That ties it.
Shooting for the win.
No timeouts remaining for Ohio State. They'll have to go the distance whether they're tied or behind by 1.
You talk about an amazing win if they were to sneak out of here with this W. I'll let a Penn State win, but they always seem to find a way to come up with a big play. I mean, that screen was designed. Oh, and they tipped it in. We're going OT, baby.
Davis. It should last a little longer, shouldn't it?
Wow.
And look at Bob Knight. A little upset with the scores table, venting some more frustration, and Ed Hightower gets in the way.
Wow.
10 years ago, Indiana was beaten in Columbus when they were #1. Overtime will tell the tale this year. (71-71), Indiana and Ohio State going to overtime. The last free throw again, there was some concern that Macon may have committed basket interference. Watch number 33. Is he in the cylinder? And a slow clock. This is what Knight was upset about.
The clock's not running.
Right.
The clock's not moving. That's what he's upset. Look at the clock.
Right. Which afforded Ohio State a chance to launch a shot.
I don't think there was interference at all.
No, I agree with you.
He can't believe he's in an OT, but it could have been a disaster totally. At least he's got a chance. What a great comeback, though, by the Buckeye young kids.
They were down by 14 in the second half, Dick. Fighting for their NCAA lives in this particular season.
What drama at stake here. These young kids want to be part of that big dance. Let's see if they're emotionally here.
Simpson feeds Davis for three.
They have some really dynamite weapons when they're on fire, but they're so streaky. Davis, Skelton, and Simpson.
Skelton hit apparently a game winner, but there was still time left on the clock. Then Robert Knight gave his team a chance with a design play to get to the line. Instead, he only drew overtime rather than a win. That's what got us where we are. 4:26 remaining. First overtime from Columbus.
See if they can survive like they did against the Nittany Lions. They fell behind in the OT against them as well.
Played from behind the entire first overtime in Happy Valley.
Got to use the shot clock, take the high percentage shot, show some poise.
Macon. Funderbucke active on the offensive board. Counted and a foul.
Look at Funderbucke. Look at the intensity. Look at the emotion. Trying to get his first win against his former teammates. He's 0-3 against them. College basketball, so special. The mystery, the unknown, the pageantry, the excitement, the cheerleaders. There's the little jump shot by Macon. And here comes Funderbucke working the offensive glass with the long arm. Keeps the ball alive. And then he takes it up strong against Nover.
Matt Nover had to sit both overtimes against Penn State. He'll sit the remainder of this overtime after committing his 5th foul. So he's out of the game. And with Henderson already out, that makes it difficult for Indiana matchup-wise the rest of the way.
That's where Funderbucke's got to take in command. They're up 6. This possession is big right here.
Cheaney, who has been noticeably silent, answers the bell in the overtime, 77-73.
Big shot by Cheaney. He's been noticeably out of it because he's not moving well without the ball, Tim.
Calbert Cheaney held to 12, 10 under his average by the Buckeye defense tonight.
They've done a great job switching on him. Good spacing right here by the Buckeyes. Keeping away help.
Funderbucke feeds Skelton. Short arm that one. Evans tied up by Skelton.
Possession arrow goes to Indiana.
But how much more active is Ohio State on their offensive boards in the last 10 minutes of regulation and now in this overtime?
Well, they smelled the W. I really think right now Funderbucke, with all his experience and talent, he's got much more talent than any other front court player on the floor, with the exception of maybe the wing player, Cheaney.
Todd LEary in the game now, along with Graham, Cheaney, Bailey, and Evans, and Damon Bailey gets the due.
That's how he scored big in high school, posted inside, sealing off. Good entry right there by Indiana.
Simpson, not there, controlled by Bailey.
See, not taking advantage of a guy like Funderbucke. Right there, you got to take command. They have, as you said, Henderson out of the lineup. Nover's on the sideline.
Graham has not been looking to shoot in the last 10-plus minutes. Evans will. Oh, a beautiful move past Funderbucke.
Nobody rotated over to close off the driving angle. 3 unanswered possessions by Indiana.
77-77.
That's that OER we talk about, offensive efficiency rating on a half-court game, what you do with each possession.
Funderbucke over Evans again. Double teamed by Cheaney. Gets the roll. They'll wave it off. They'll say Macon was in the cylinder.
Good offensive selection right there by Ohio State. They go in deep to Funderbucke. He gets the conversion, but there was interference up there on that rim. Now you take a look. The ball goes inside. There's Funderbucke working on a baseline. Now the ball is hanging. You can't touch the ball up there.
And it was going to go anyway.
It was going to roll in. They haven't been able to stop him the last 3 possessions.
Cheaney over Macon. Macon clears.
See, that's just shooting that standstill jumper. Not attacking the basket, Calbert, at all with any dribble penetration. Oh, he's going to spread the court right now. He's going to go to a spread because if you're going to have a chance to win, you're going to kill some time, get the high percentage shot, and let him try to check our 3 quick people. see Davis, Simpson, and Skelton are excellent one-on-one players.
For those of you just joining us, expecting to see Alabama LSU, you're watching something that's a great deal of fun right now in the Big Ten. Number 1 Indiana, challenged by Ohio State. Graham deflects it. Davis recovers. And he recovers again.
He just out-hustled. I mean, he just out-hustled Bailey for that ball. And spread the court. I would spread the court, go to a 4 corners, and put that ball in my hands of my guards. And that's what he's doing. See? Spreading the court and say, come out and check us. See, I don't know if Leary's got the foot speed that he could check Skelton in a one-on-one. I'd keep it away from Graham, though.
It tells you that he likes the matchup. The players on the floor in the backcourt, he really likes his matchup against Indiana.
So I would try to get Skelton in a little isolation.
Funderbucke wants it. Evans on his hip. There's Skelton. Thank you, Dr. Dick. You're all over it. It's 80-77 Buckeyes.
Good execution, a lot of poise with that possession. Let's see Indiana now. Macon really beating up on Cheaney. And I mean legitimate like. He's just beating him to spots. There he is, denying him the ball, deflecting it.
Shot clock off. Game clock is what you see. That's Evans the three.
That's an NBA three.
Evans on the offensive board. Fought for it. High ball. Arrow, Ohio State.
Look at this intensity. Look at the emotion. We are smelling the big upset here, baby, in Columbus. Number 1. Number 1. Looks like Kentucky's getting ready to be number 1.
Timeout, Indiana.
Wow, incredible.
Strongest hold you can get. Fix it and forget it.
2 weeks ago, Brian Evans beat Penn State with the last shot in the second overtime. Here's what happens in the first overtime for Coach Knight's young players.
He's 2 out of his range right there, though, Tim. That was an NBA 3. And then we watch the ball go to the deck. We fight for the basketball, get a jump ball. Possession arrow goes to Ohio State. I've never liked the alternate possession. Look at Bobby Knight, frustration. I'd rather see an official have to throw the ball up and let them scramble for the basketball rather than have a game won by alternate possession. I just never, ever liked that rule.
Randy Ayers with some body lean, but you have to trigger it in against Indiana. And it's a foul against Evans. But that does put Funderbucke at the line, who has struggled all evening. He's 2 for 7 at the strike.
Well, his last free throw, he looked pretty good. Up until that point, he was really pulling the trigger on each shot. Now, he can either win this baby right here and take away any drama. It could be the sweetest jump free throw of his career right now, the former Hoosier.
After making that last one, he does appear confident. 3 for 7 tonight.
He can wrap it up here. It's over, baby. It's over. It's upset city. And you know what, Indiana, right now, they have lost being number 1. They have lost an unbeaten season. And they may now, right now, no automatic for the Big Ten. They got a road trip to Minnesota. This keeps Michigan alive. Fifth number 1 to bite the bullet.
Ohio State facing a top-ranked team for the first time since 86-87. They beat Iowa in January of that year. Dennis Hobson had 36. 10 years ago here in Columbus in January, they beat Indiana. They've done it again. 81-77, your final.
Celebration time. Yes, they're celebrating in Columbus.
To the floor at the end of regulation, but it didn't count. This one does. 81-77. For Dick Vitale, I'm Tim Brando. So long from Columbus. Now let's join John Saunders in our college basketball studios. It is Super Tuesday after all, isn't it, John?
Absolutely, Tim and Dick. What a fun game to watch. Randy Ayers, great job of coaching as he went for the win instead of the tie at the end of regulation. And then Bob Knight, a tremendous job of coaching as well, diagramming that chart. Super Tuesday rolls along. We'll get to the SEC in just a moment. Alabama trails LSU. You see 13:30 left. That one is coming up next, right after this. And right now, Indiana #1 has fallen.